Hello and thank you for joining me for another How to Draw Stuff with me, Calvin Innes. Okay, today we're going to go for something a little bit different. We're going to draw some monsters, but we're going to practice sort of turning weird shapes into monsters. So one of the things that kind of makes monsters look like monsters is the fact that there are bits and pieces that you recognise. There are eyes and mouths and that kind of stuff. But the heads might be slightly weird shapes, the positioning of the eyes and the mouths might be slightly different. So when we start sort of exploring that idea, we can come up with some really cool ideas. So let's just start off with a simple shape like this to begin with. And we're going to turn this into our monster. But we're going to keep the eyes sort of like really sort of low down, somewhere down here, with this being the top of the head. So first off, let's just get those eyes in. Just make the eye nice and dark. Okay, and now on here, we're going to think about kind of putting the mouth in. So I think the mouth we're going to sweep across a little bit more, but we're going to keep it really sort of low down. Just sketch in a little bit there. Just a bit of the chin. Start to add a little bit of hair, and there's not a lot of detail on this guy now, but all of a sudden you've got this kind of quite creepy looking alien monster thing just from starting off with this really simple shape. Let's just stick a neck on there. Again, we're sort of exaggerating things that any sort of creature would have, but we're doing them in a slightly different way. There we go. Get a few markings on there, and we might sort of come back to that and add a little bit more in a minute. But I quite like how that works. Let's do something sort of similar here, but we've got a very sort of different shape again. This time let's set the eye sort of back here. Again, we're keeping the eye nice and dark on this. Kind of creepy looking. Now on this one I want to kind of put slightly more on the nose, so I want a couple of nostrils in there, and almost have no mouth at all. Keep that really small. So you've still got some of these sort of basic things that kind of make a creature, but you're exaggerating how they work. We could give this guy a really thin neck actually. Let's bring that down right from the back of the head and make that the neck. It's wide enough for the shoulders there. Put a few sort of veins and sinews on the neck. Strengthen that jawline a little bit. So with all of this, I'm just kind of making these up as we go along. But it's just playing about with different shapes, sort of turning them into faces that then become these kind of quite creepy looking monsters. Again, let's think again. Let's go over here again, and so these sort of elongated shapes work kind of quite nicely, where you've got kind of a big area at the back of the head for where sort of the brain is, and then your face is in this slightly sort of smaller area at the front. But this time let's bring that jawline down there as such. Now these have got really small mouths. Let's go for a big mouth on this one. Okay, let's get a few sort of teeth in there too. Often when I'm kind of coming up with monster characters, this is exactly how I do it. It's starting off with some very simple shapes and then just sketching, kind of seeing what you come up with. Now it sort of makes sense that the eyes are up here, so what I'm thinking is we're gonna put them down here instead, so really near the front. Yeah, quite like that. Okay, it's just experimenting with slightly different shapes and positioning of those eyes and mouths. So these are all fairly sort of basic creatures at the moment, basic monsters. There's no real detail on them other than the eyes and the mouth. So use them as starting points, and then you can start to add in all the other kind of bits and pieces that you want. All these really sort of angular shoulders kind of work quite nicely. Don't really know where this one's going. He looks a bit weird. It's not my favourite one, to be honest, but that one's alright. Okay, let's try something different. Let's try sort of, where are we up here? Again, this big shape at the back again. So faces have a bit of a ridge over the eye, a ridge where the nose is, and down to where the chin is. This is obviously very exaggerated on what you'd see from a human face, and part of this whole process is using lines in different ways. So when you're sketching, and if there's a line that doesn't necessarily fit with the way sort of a human face or a normal face would fit, it doesn't mean you shouldn't use it. So this little line that sort of appeared here, I've shaded that in, and then all of a sudden we've got this kind of quite weird shape emerging at the back of the head, at the back of the jaw, that we can then shade in a little bit more detail. Yeah, like the idea of this guy's mouth being up in there. I don't know what's happening up there just yet. So let's just throw in some shapes and see what happens. Again, this way of drawing, obviously it takes a little bit of practice. So a lot of the drawing tutorials that I do are very simplified, for aimed at kids and beginners. Ones like this, a little bit more difficult, and it's just a case of practicing kind of these shapes, and you might kind of throw them in and think, yeah, that sort of works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't really matter. But sometimes when you're sketching like this, you don't actually have the idea in your head to begin with. You're literally just pulling these shapes together and seeing where they go. So then that starts to, let's get rid of that. Let's just shape this up here. And all of a sudden we end up with this kind of quite freaky looking shape. So if we bang a shoulder in there, we have this kind of gnarly looking head. Quite a cool one, quite like that. We're going to keep going, we're going to move down here again this time. Let's go for something kind of a bit more from the front. So we've got this elongated head there. Now traditionally you would have eyes, you'd have your nose, you'd have your mouth for kind of a person. So eye line on here, nose line, mouth line, ears around here, that sort of layout. So we're going to mess it up a little bit. We're going to bring the eyes not just a little bit higher, we're going to bring the eyes kind of right up here. And let's keep them sort of really sort of small and beady. So this gives us a big long shape for the rest of the face to play with. Again, the fact that it's just a little bit different to how you would normally see a human face, just starts to make it look a little bit creepy. Just adding in a few little details around there. Nice. Okay, so then the nose would normally be there, so let's have the nose kind of right up here, and then our mouth, let's keep that really kind of high as well. Let's use this whole space for kind of doing our monster's mouth. Let's get some big teeth in there. Some more teeth along the bottom. Again, you've got this kind of really exaggerated sort of shape to the face. Just thicken those teeth up a little bit, get a bit of shadow in there. And then we start to get a little bit more kind of shape to this. So let's put some sort of cheekbones in there. Let's have the top of the mouth kind of bowing out. Again, just mixing up these shapes a little bit, just to make it a little bit more interesting. I mean, some of this stuff you might keep, some of it you might sort of lose. Could even stick some extra eyes in here. Yeah, quite like that. That's kind of cool. Little horns at the front of the head. A few weird little tufts of hair up there. So anytime you're sketching monsters like this, never really know where they're going. Half the time they end up looking kind of pretty naff. And then now and again you get one that looks really nice, and you can kind of develop it into a little bit more of a detailed drawing. Starting to look kind of cool now, quite like that. Yeah, let's just get a little bit of texture in there. And this is one of the things that's kind of a nice little technique to learn, is using kind of messy penmanship, messy marks, using them sparingly, but kind of along the edges, along areas of kind of dark shadow, of inside these sort of crevices where the eyes would sit, that kind of thing. It sort of darkens off that area without shading it, because you are getting more detail in there. It automatically looks a little bit darker, and then these lighter areas kind of stand out slightly more, and it just brings your characters to life a touch more. Okay, that will do for now on that one. It's kind of cool, a bit weird. Okay, we're just going to do a couple more very, very quickly. There we go. Let's go for a really sort of elongated shape there. Again, it's a million miles away from a normal kind of a person's head, but then if we know we need to get an eye in there, so let's we've been doing these angry eyes tonight, so let's kind of stick with the same sort of idea. Gives us this as our nose. Let's bring in a bit of a weird kind of jawline there. And let's start to play about with a couple of shapes here. So how about we sweep up these kind of weird, I don't really know what this is at this point, but I know we need a nostril in there so this guy can breathe. There, you look a bit too curved and friendly, so let's just sharpen them up a little bit and we can get in with bits of shading. Getting very, very rough at this stage. Let's just actually give this guy some hair at the back. That look kind of cool. Again, it's kind of adding bits that are unexpected, I suppose. So if you're drawing a smooth, scaly, slimy sort of character, you wouldn't necessarily instantly think to put hair on there as well. When you do, you start to get these nice little sort of variations in your character. And it's, like I say, it's just a case of experimenting with that kind of stuff. Let's see if we can bring this mouth back then. Oh, it's quite cute, this guy. It's alright. Kind of like that. There we go. A few little teeth kind of hanging down. Let's just get a little bit darker on the eye there. Again, got kind of a weird a weird kind of character there. I quite like that one though, that's quite cool. Okay, I think we've got room for one more up here. Just checking the screen, yeah, a little bit more room there. Taking my pictures, not blocking it out too much. Okay, so let's go. I kind of like that shape, but I think we can do more with it. So an elongated shape like that is quite a nice thing. But let's sort of switch this up by bringing the neck down here. So all of a sudden this becomes the head shape, and then we've got a head shape that is again kind of not a traditional head shape, not something that's instantly recognisable. But let's kind of like a praying mantis kind of thing. So let's put the eyes really wide on this, really nice and wide. So we're really far apart. Here we go. And we're going to leave these eyes without pupils. And darken around it. The eyes themselves are just going to be empty and kind of void like that. So again, it's kind of going back to that thing where there's a lot of elements that you would expect to see, but they're slightly changed, and it just makes it feel a little bit eerie. The way to think about it is if you saw a regular person sort of stood there, suited and booted, the hat and all that kind of stuff, but their eyes are either completely black or completely white, there's a certain sort of creepiness there. And that's kind of what you're doing with these sketches. You're doing recognisable elements, but you're changing them ever so slightly, just to make them a little bit creepy. So I kind of want a mouth on this guy, but we can't really fit much in, so keep it nice and low there. Give him a bit of a beard. Again, he's this technique of just kind of pulling those lines up from the lip, and then again down from the lip there, and that makes the gap, the actual mouth, sort of sink into the head a little bit and gives it a little bit of depth. Let's just put some tiny little horns on there, mainly because it's all little fit on the top of the page. This is quite cool. I like this one. Now we can get in and add some areas of darker shadow. Again, as I've said in kind of quite a lot of my drawing tutorials, don't be afraid of kind of getting quite heavy on the shadow. It is what brings your drawings to life a little bit more. It makes them pop. Shadows are quite dark. It's where no light can get to, so a lot of the time when people start with drawing and they're sketching in shadows, they'll kind of leave it at this stage, so this one over here. Whereas if you get in there and you really do darken off some of those shadows, and maybe I want those eyes to be really dark. Here we go. Get a bit of darkness inside the mouth there. Then all of a sudden you see how that character starts to really pop out from the page. Just got a little bit more life to it. So yeah, don't be afraid of adding those areas of dark shadow in. Just got a few more bits and pieces on this guy. And then let's just quickly go back to this one from earlier on, because I do want to add a little bit of detail to this now. Now I've been staring at it a little while, I know what it is I want to add. That's just a little bit of texture to this head in the form of these these boils. And again, it's another thing that's kind of is worth doing when you're doing your character sketches, is sort of give them a little bit of time, you know, sit on them for a bit, come back to them, add details later on. You might not be 100% happy with it, but don't scrap it, kind of sit on it, and then all of a sudden you might get this sort of spark of inspiration, where you know exactly what you want to add to your character, and you can go back in and you can add in those details that'll sort of bring it to life. So for this one, so yeah, I want to get these kind of boils and welts in there, start to get a little bit of texture in on the top. So I need to get a little bit more sort of shape to the head there. There we go. Okay, so there's a few different ones for you to play about with there. But this whole sort of session is all about taking those elements that you recognise and just change them a little bit. Work with some weird head shapes, position the eyes and the mouths higher and lower, keep them nice and simple, and then start adding your details in. And it's those it's shifting those elements around that will make your creatures sort of seem creepy and weird and sort of recognisable at the same time. So thank you for joining me. As usual, I'd love to see what you guys come up with. Remember to subscribe, like, share the video as much as you can. Really appreciate all the support. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all again next time.